Aloha kako, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Nerd Fights. In fact, a very special edition. We have the semifinals tonight, and we're very excited to be having this semifinal battle between two distinguished gentlemen that most people know in all of these communities because they've been around all over the place, and they are no stranger to Nerd Fights as well. Very excited to have these two gentlemen squaring off against one another. We've got Amaru Moses and Mr. David. How are you doing, Mr. David? I know you're a little bit later in the day for us over in Spain. How are you feeling for this semifinal battle?
Well, first of all, I found out that I was going to be in a semifinal as soon as I won the last match. So, I mean, I am not really nervous. I kind of know what the result is going to be because apparently I cannot beat Amaru, even if my life depends on it. But I mean, I really loved the subjects and the questions this time. So I think even if just for the opportunity to debate Wizarding World with Amaru, this is going to be worth it. So let's just do the thing.
All right, Mr. David, he is ready and excited, and seems and feels that he can't take on Amaru. Moses, Amaru, you're no stranger to these games. You've been around for a while. You're 1-0 in these nerd fights. How you feeling today being in here?
Look, this man took out Papa West. So, I mean, anything can happen at any time. Even in the debates I've won, if it was different judges, it could have been a different outcome. So I'm just ready to go. As he's taking my move of being humble and then hoping to win, I'm not gonna let up because of that. But he's my man, and I'm ready to go. Sure, I'm excited about this.
All right. Well, I've got a very easy job today. I feel really good about that. I just get to host, ask these questions, and then listen to these answers because I have three judges that are going to be judging this competition today. Right over here, we've got Mr. Kevin. He apparently is also the grandson of Emperor Palpatine. I mean, Palpatine just making mad kids. So, so he's got another one. Kevin, how you feeling, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm on the downhill slide of an 18-hour shift. They pulled me aside from work to judge this awesome debate, which I know it's going to be. Both of these guys very knowledgeable in the nerd realm. I know that from their past debates and matches. So I'm excited to hear what they have to say.
Excellent. All right, and we got the Raptor Master himself, Mr. Jonathan Peck. How are you feeling, Mr. Peck?
Very good. A little bit more lightheaded right here from sleep. I just woke up about almost an hour ago. But I drank some milk right here, took a quick shower, and I kept myself awake. Yeah.
There we go.
There's my cup of milk. So, and
all right.
I recognize these two players. I love both of these guys. And basically, there ain't no chances coming with nerd stuff. I'll just say that right now, though. So, especially David right here. Watch out. Just be careful. I'm just going to tell you that.
Okay.
All right. He'll take that.
I know many training centers we used to do right here, though. I know. So.
True. All right. And, of course, last but not least, Mr. Chris Diaz. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. At 10:15 in the morning over here. I woke up half hour ago, but I'm ready to hear the awesome debate between Amaru and David, the people I've highly respected. Yeah, this should be a fun one.
It should be. Yes, this debate should be fun and exciting. So most people watching are no strangers to this, but just in case this is your first time, you've got a heck of a show coming up to you. So we're gonna have 4 rounds, and if we have a tie at the end of those 4 rounds with the gentleman below, then we will have a speed round question. Now we've got our rounds break up into 3 different sections. We got our first 90-second opener, and then we've got a 5-minute debate round where they can duke it out verbally, of course, and then their 60-second wrap up to their debate and to their answer to the question. if you will. And we've got a lot of things that they've got to pose to us or present to us, because I didn't make these questions super easy.
Oh, you did not.
Because I knew they both could handle it and provide us with a lot of interesting content. These are two creative guys, so we're in for a good show today. So our first, and of course, a couple of different little rules here. If during the 5-minute debate round they start to get a little too nasty, and we got to put them in the corner, time them out for a minute, and say, "Hey guys, think about what you did. Come back, hug, make up, and then let's go and finish this out." And they also have the option, should they need to or want to use their minute extension on their opening or closing, they can do so. Just make sure, gentlemen, that you let us know you're going to use it before those times start. And of course, we've got thank you very much for that. The judges have to write down, or in the case of Emperor Palpatine, he'll send it to us through dark magic or whatever Palpatine did when he came back in that movie. No spoilers. Too late.
We don't really know, aside that the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some would consider to be unnatural. So that's about. That's
about all the explanation we got. That's about all the explanation that we need. Exactly. All right. So make sure you write down your winner on there, and then let us know that way. All right. So without further ado, we are going to begin with our first question. The first question posed to these gentlemen was thus: in the realm of Marvel, because we're all over the geek universe, and of course Marvel, everybody loves the Marvel universe, the Marvel comics, the Marvel television shows, the Marvel films, everything in that realm. So I pose this to these two gentlemen here. How would you assist Thanos? How would you assist Thanos? Okay, making them go too, since we're talking about dark side, make them go to the dark side a little bit, and assist Thanos. How would they do it? How would they do it? So I believe the Marvel strength was Amaru. So we're going to start with him. He's going to tell us, as soon as he begins talking, his 90 seconds will start. When you begin, sir, Amaru, how are you going to assist Thanos?
Looking at everything we know now, seeing how Thanos did eventually win, got some success, and then eventually got some justice, I'm looking back and saying there's only one way really Thanos can have any more success than he already had, and that's by getting rid of Tony. The problem with that is you cannot get rid of Tony without touching time, without doing something that's outside of his own timeline, without changing a whole lot of stuff. And you don't want to mess with that. But there is one way. There's one way Tony Stark can be out of the picture. So the way that I am assisting Thanos is by telling him that he needs to have Nebula killed the second he leaves for Vormir with Gamora. Nebula is the key. She is the connection between Thanos and the Avengers. She is the big reason why they ultimately get to come back and serve justice to him. One, without Nebula, they would have taken a lot longer time finding him after the initial snap, and he could have had a longer success being able to enjoy the sunset on a grateful universe. But second, and most importantly, without Nebula there, Tony would not have survived on Titan. It would have been him and him alone. He would not have been able to get off Titan. He would not have been able to fix the ship. He would have not been able to get rid of that infection. Nebula is the reason he's got to go.
And time, right at time. Excellent. All right. And I remembered, I knew I forgot, and I remembered. Should you gentlemen not want to use all the rest of your time, please let us know you're going to concede the rest of your time. And of course, if you do use that time, when I say stop time, you got to stop. And Amaru did a perfect example right there, stopping right at time. Excellent, sir. All right. So, one of my favorite characters, Nebula. I even got to meet Karen Gillan. No, I don't want to brag or anything. She's awesome. But yeah, killing Nebula. Wow. All right, an interesting way to assist Thanos. All right, Mr. David, how are you going to assist Thanos? Your time begins when you begin speaking.
All right, so I think the best way to assist Thanos is to make sure he doesn't lose at the end of Endgame. So, for me, the best way to achieve that is for me to tell him to kill Doctor Strange right after he gives him the Mind Stone. Not to dust him, no, just kill him. Kill him so he can make sure that killing cannot be undone. Why? Because, first of all, Doctor Strange is the one that pushes Tony to do what he did. But most importantly, Doctor Strange is the connection between the people on Titan and the Avengers. He's the one who communicates with Wong, and he's the one who makes Spider-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and a lot of people coming back to the battle. And not only that, but it was his communication with the rest of the sorcerers that made the portals scene possible. Without that big army, even if the final battle on Earth happens, the Avengers will be vastly outnumbered, and we all know that without the people that came out of the portals, Thanos' victory is basically guaranteed. And I am going to concede the 3 seconds I have.
All right after 1 second. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, wow. All right. So both individuals, both gentlemen got to take somebody out, a beloved character out to ensure that Thanos wins. Man, this should be interesting. All right. Judges, I hope you're paying attention because these two gentlemen got 5 minutes to explain why their choice is the right choice. So let's hear what they got to say. All right, your time begins as soon as the first person begins talking.
All right, David. So you are not wrong. Doctor Strange is very key. The problem is you saw 14,605 different ways to things go down, and he did that before Thanos stepped foot on Titan. If there's no way that's happening, Doctor Strange would not let that happen. He would not have given up the Time Stone, would not have even had it there if he knew, because he already saw the future. He would have known that Thanos would have killed him, or he would have let him kill him. But he would have only have sacrificed himself because that is the only way he would have won. He already saw time. He already saw 14 million ways. Once Thanos is there, Thanos is kind of screwed in trying to touch anybody that's there, because Doctor Strange saw every single way that it would have worked, and he would have done something to either make sure the stone wasn't there, or he would have sacrificed himself anyway to make sure that he would initially won. So I don't think killing Doctor Strange does anything, because Doctor Strange would have had had a reason for doing it.
I kind of have to say the same with Nebula. Nebula going, it's basically kind of pointless, especially because you are saying that Tony wouldn't have survived. I disagree. I mean, yeah, Nebula assists him, but we all know what Tony is capable of. Do you really think Tony wouldn't have come up with a way to survive enough for Captain Marvel to find him? And on top of that all, assuming, because I really think Tony would have survived even without Nebula, killing Nebula does not make Thanos a favor or give Thanos any advantage, because without Nebula, he wouldn't have been able to find out the plans of the Avengers while they are going through time, and he wouldn't have been able to come back and do basically anything. The Avengers would have had succeeded in their timeline, getting everyone back. So without Nebula, honestly, I think you are not benefiting Thanos at all.
So here's the thing: the first and foremost with Nebula, it's the easiest thing to do because Nebula's already in his clutches. So instead of he cannot wait till he gets back from Vormir because she's already gone. He's got to say, the second I leave with Gamora, so Gamora will still go get the stone for me, then she's got to go. And here's the reason why I don't think Tony would survive. By the time Captain Marvel gets there, he has less than 24 hours of oxygen left to go. And two things happen. They're able to fix the ship a lot quicker with Nebula on board. But second, he gets an infection. He gets an infection that Nebula is the one that cures it for him. She's the one who doesn't have to eat as much. So being able to pass that over to him, being able to make the ship go faster, being able to cure that infection gives him more time. But more than that, with actually not even more than that, and for that reason, with Tony not really being able to be there, most likely not surviving, time travel is not a factor. And if it is a factor, it takes a lot longer because Hulk did not know how to not make Ant-Man, little Ant-Man, and old Ant-Man, and whichever one peed himself. It was Tony who did all that. And without Tony, there's a very, very unlikely chance they're able to go back in time and do any of that. Nebula is the reason why Tony survives.
Well, I actually don't agree with that because we are talking about time here. It doesn't really matter if it takes 2 days to figure out or 4 years to figure it out. Because with time travel, you can basically go and come back whenever you want. Also, not only that, but you mentioned the oxygen.
1 minute.
You mentioned the oxygen problem, the food problem. If Tony is alone, he will have a lot more time with the oxygen and the food. Even if Nebula eats less than a normal human, she still eats and she still breathes. So the oxygen in the ship will have lasted twice as much. And also, now let's assume that statistically, someone else in Titan will have survived, because with Nebula gone, completely gone, Thanos will have still wiped out half of the universe. And we know one person with Tony survived on Titan. So anyone else on Titan could have been able to help Tony cure his infection. But I still think that Tony alone with more oxygen, more food, he would have been able to cure his infection and survive even longer. Even if he wasn't able to fix the ship, he will have been able to survive longer for Captain Marvel to find him.
And time. All right, there it is. Wow. Whew. Man, interesting. Never thought we'd be hearing people debate against characters that we love so much. But this was good. This was good. All right, we got 60 seconds to wrap up your argument. Plead your case, your final case. And since we started with Amaru, we're going to do this final with David, this final 60 seconds. And your 60 seconds begins, sir, when you begin speaking.
All right, so Amaru made a good point about the Doctor Strange seeing the future. But honestly, I think introducing us, either Amaru or me, that will be in a raw factor that he could not have predicted. And also, he said only in one future they succeeded. He has really no control over if he is able to make that future happen. So he wouldn't expect Thanos to kill him. That's my argument against what Amaru said. But I really think that the portal scene is key for Thanos' defeat. And without Doctor Strange, that doesn't happen. He's also the one that doing a simple gesture pushes Tony to do what he has to do. Without Doctor Strange doing this simple thing, Tony wouldn't have known what he had to do. So for me, honestly, Nebula is a great choice, but she doesn't really have that big of effect in the outcome.
Time. All right, right at the 60. Good work, sir. All right, Amaru, close out your case. Your 60 begins when you do.
What we end up having here is statistics versus statistics. Yes, he might have been able to survive longer. Yes, Strange might have not been able to see something. Here's the difference between mine and yours. All the statistics that you came up with in terms of who would come up and who would survive and who would be dusted, we have no clue. We have no clue if somebody else on Titan would have been survived. We have no clue whether or not he would have he would have survived longer or survived less. More than likely, he would have survived less. What we do know is that Doctor Strange knew every single outcome because he saw 14 million different ways to see it. And if he saw 14 million different ways to see it, that means he sees us. That means he knows everything that's going to happen. And that means he knows for a fact that there is only one way for him to do it then. There might be only one way for them to do it now. And if we step in, there might even be 0 ways for him to do anything. So if he would have died, he would have chose it. At least with Nebula, Thanos has something.
Time. time. All right. Whew, man. So we've heard our arguments, heard the cases. Now we go to the judges. Whew. And it feels good not to have the burden of judging this. I'm feeling good here. All
You were
right,
lucky,
now
Alan. You were very lucky.
I am very lucky. I'm very lucky. Okay, Mr. Kevin. We're going to start with Mr. Kevin, Mr. Palpatine himself.
Everybody else is
Kevin.
good.
Yep. All right. You heard these arguments. Who gets your point, sir?
Okay. Put it in the chat that way it's validated there. All right. So both very good arguments. Really strong intros. The thing that they both change in game up in big ways. So I had to look at it as from a statistical standpoint, and Amaru made it pretty simple in his closing. It's the easiest thing to do because Tony, with the limited amount of oxygen, Nebula cures the infection, makes the ship go faster. That argument really swayed me. But the point about Strange not letting it happen, and only letting it happen in a way where the Avengers win, because he does know, because of the amount of choices there are, that just swayed me towards Amaru.
All right. So we've got 1 point for Amaru. Kevin goes for Amaru. All right, Mr. Peck, Mr. Raptor Master, Mr. Milk. All right. What say you, sir?
Okay. For me, I'm actually gonna defer. My point would have gone to David because he put some examples that if you kill Doctor Strange, I think some possibilities might not have happened though. He wouldn't tell Tony about what happened though, about the other stuff right here. And also, if you take Strange out, they basically have no portal jumping with other, not only sorcerers, but with other members, not only the Avengers or the Guardians of the Galaxy trying to get out basically on time, or other places out there, dusted or undusted. And also he pointed out something that if you put Nog on against Amaru, that if you kill Nebula right here, that's basically pointless, and basically you just not only change everything if you kill that. We kill Nebula, but kill Doctor Strange, we could make benefit sound even more right here and not come back. That's not included. So I will get my point to David.
All right. So that's 1 for David. Whew. I don't have to be a tiebreaker. I don't have to be a tiebreaker. All right. That falls upon the shoulders of Mr. Diaz. Mr. Diaz, you have heard both arguments. Now you get to break the tie. What say you?
This is tough. I would say my point would go to Maru, but this was a really tough battle here. There are a few points where I'd love to hear Maru. I wish you hit him about that everybody out lack of experience to help David attack about that Tony could still survive when you compare who else survive. Nebula did lack of experience. Also, you should also hit it on the point that, when David mentioned without Nebula, Thanos wouldn't know about the time travel. Yes, he would, because Nebula was, when Thanos found out, was during the Guardians of the Galaxy time, not in the Avengers Infinity War time. So that little different, but I think Marvel hit more on the point against David. David, great job as well, but it came down to the conclusion. I think Marvel does have more points given. Bye.
All right. So we have our first official point going to Amaru. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Good.
I mean,
Good.
You had some counters I was not expecting, and not.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was great.
I mean,
Man,
as soon as you said that Doctor Strange could have seen him dying coming, I was like, he's right.
Yeah, I saw that, David. As soon as Amaru said that, David's eyebrows went up, and oh. All right. Excellent. So I was not wrong. A very entertaining, very fun debate from these two gentlemen who are very knowledgeable. They're very knowledgeable in the world of Marvel, and now we're going to see how knowledgeable they are in the world of Star Wars, which we've already had David quoting. So, and I know Amaru can do the same. So we're going to make this interesting and see what they got for us, because they're going to have to pitch us something, and they're going to have to pitch us what's going to happen with, I think, a beloved character in the Star Wars sequels, okay? In The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. Think of them what you will. But I think universally people really appreciated the Rey character. I know I was one of them. I think she's a fantastic character, and I put her up there in the echelon with Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, and all of them. I love me some Rey. So I want to see what happens next with Rey. So what the question was to pitch the next project for the Rey character. And since we started with Amaru last time, we're going to start with David. All right, David, your 90 seconds begins. Pitch us what happens with Rey as soon as you begin talking.
Well, my argument here is that we already had a trilogy that was completely centered around Rey. Whether you like her, whether you don't like her, I think that was enough of her being the main character. So what I am pitching is she has grown up. She is 50 more or less years old now, and she is the great master of the new Jedi Order in the New Republic. That means we are going to have a Jedi Academy, and that's the title for my Disney Plus series, Jedi Academy. So I want you to imagine a high school / Hogwarts type of thing with a lot of different characters, a lot of different students. You can have kids, you can have teenagers, because there really is not an age to be a Padawan. You can start very young, you can start older, you can be learning until you are a lot older. So for me, we are opening the gate to a lot of different possibilities, a new genre to explore in Star Wars. That is really what I want to see now. I want different genres, not our action blockbuster thing that we have seen kind of 11 movies already. So I really want a series that can give me a genre that I love with Star Wars. We can have the kids going into travel in the forest looking for seed artifacts, and we can have a lot of high school drama that I love.
Time. All right. Wow, using every single second. There we go. Interesting. Jedi Academy feature for Disney Plus series for our beloved Star Wars universe. All right, Amaru, your turn. Your 90 begins as soon as you begin speaking, sir.
You need time to pass. You need time to pass between the Skywalker saga and a whole lot of things. So whenever Rey comes back, she does need to come back. But there needs to be some time in between that, because you were right. We don't need any of that right now. But when she does, the logical next step is for there to be a Disney Plus scavenger hunt adventure type of series called Star Wars: The Sacred Jedi. We need to know some answers to a lot of things that they didn't give us. And Rey herself deserves a coherent, singular story ran by one person, because the awkwardness of going between directors killed what could have been there. And the Jedi texts are the next logical step. It seemed like Rey was supposed to be the all-knowing, all-powerful last Jedi left, and she's not. There is a lot for her to learn. But more than that, ever since Order 66, there are Jedi somewhere. Not everybody got killed. There are so many questions that can be answered from these sacred Jedi texts, and it would be perfect for Rey to be the one to have a scavenger hunt every single episode, looking how can she become better, what can she learn, and then say, where are these Jedi that I do not know about? And from there, you can just make it bigger and bigger and bigger to finally give that story and Rey's story some justice. You could even pass along this justice where some episodes go to Finn and Donna and the First Order kids, go to Broom Kid. There's a lot to explore.
Time. All right, I was waiting. I knew somebody was going to bring up Broom Kid. Okay, so we've got Jedi Academy versus the Sacred Texts. And it looks like a scavenger hunt adventure to find more about Rey and, of course, the Jedi that are out there somewhere in the universe. This should be fun. This should be interesting. This will be a good 5 minutes here. So when someone starts talking, gentlemen, your 5 minutes begins then.
All right. So Amaru, I really think that one of the things you have to consider when pitching a series is that you are going to be hunted by the public opinion. And I don't know if you are very aware of how the Star Wars universe and the reactions, but honestly, Rey getting to gain more power and to learn more power, more force and everything, I don't think people will react too good to that because people already think she is too powerful. So I don't think that is going to be something that people will want to see. While on my series, on the other hand, she is there. She is already a master, but we are not going to focus too much on her and her powers. She will be there to be a guiding light to the new generations. You mentioned Broom Kid. You mentioned Temiri Black, and I think that is what that represents. Rey is a guiding light for the new generation. So I think that is what we need to see. I personally don't think we need to see Rey being alone in her own story right now. We need more characters. We need the new generation of Star Wars to step in, and the Jedi Academy is the best way to do it right now.
So, public opinion on Star Wars, I don't know as much as you do. I just know no matter what happens, public opinion on Star Wars is ripped in half no matter what. And what they need to do is not let public opinion sway them. They need just to rip the bandage and go. And with your series, it leaves more questions than answers. I love your series, but your series it's a great idea, but it's a spinoff of mine. It needs to come later. If we're going to, it's way too new right now. If we're going to do something that has any connection to Skywalker, we need to answer questions and serve justice before moving on to something new. For one, if the Jedi and the Republic are back, how did they come back? Where did they come from? What led to that? How do we get everybody back in order? If Rey is 50 and we have Academy, I'm going to be looking at it like, wait a second. Wait, you're no longer too old to be a Jedi? Wait, where did they come from? Who are these new people? How did Rey get to this point? I will have so many questions asked that I'm like, no, give me this later. I want to know how that became now. And you're talking about you don't need Rey to be alone in the series. Mando is the loner of all loners, and there are so many great side characters in The Mandalorian. A series is perfect for her to go find new people, find side characters, and to do everything you need to do to make it a solo series for Rey, but still not a solo series for Rey. You need these questions answered for Rey, and the best way to do that and to give justice to this character is to let one person steer that ship in the right direction before going to you said Hogwarts. I fell in love, but I want to see it. But I want to see it after I get my questions answered.
So, okay, one question for you, Amaru. So, Star Wars is known for not going chronologically. I mean, Star Wars has never gone chronologically. We have episode 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then 7, 8, 9. I was going to say 7, 9, 8. Star Wars doesn't need to go chronologically. Star Wars plays with giving us questions first and then giving us the answers. So, yeah, your series can happen, but I think the way we have to do it right now, we have to get away from the Skywalker saga. We really need to get away from the Skywalker saga. And the way to do that and still keep people interested in case they come back is put questions on the table. Yes, how did Rey become a master? Well, you will know later, but right now they need to get new characters. They need to get the new generation to make more movies. Also, you mentioned the Star Wars public opinion always being divisive. You mentioned The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian did not divide people. If you make a good series that people love with a new genre like The Mandalorian was, you can get people behind you. And I think that's the key to my series. We have a new genre that a lot of people love. We can have the Hogwarts thing that a lot of people like us love. And I think that's going to unite the people and make room for more Rey when people are ready.
The answer to your question and to Mandalorian is not only do they do no, they're not chronological. But the thing is, even though it doesn't make sense, they're not chronological by time. They go out of order in space. Mandalorian is completely away from the Skywalker saga in space. You gotta go prequel. You gotta make it, but you gotta get away from them with space. And I'll finish that.
And time. Wow. All right. Whew. Man, this is fascinating. This is gonna be judges. I don't envy you guys. Let's see what happens when they give us our closing here. And we started with David. We're gonna go to Amaru for your closing. Whew. This will be interesting. All right, sir. Your 60 begins when you are ready.
I said it in my opening. Yes, you need to get away from Skywalker, but you need to get best way to get away from Skywalker is through space. It is a vast universe. Mandalorian has very little connection, but it's a completely different area, completely different place to go that doesn't mention anybody else. Your pitch is going to be too quickly going back to the Skywalker saga. If you want to get away from them, you got to get away from a completely different area of space. My pitch is after time has passed. Let's have a completely different family. Let's have a completely different whatever in the thing of space. But the second we get back to Rey, you need to know what happens with Rey. We can't skip time with Rey. We can't skip time with anything to do with the Skywalker saga. We gotta know what happened. So let some time pass. Let us go to somewhere else, and then when we come back and answer questions.
Time. All right. Using every second. Excellent. Okay. David, as soon as you're ready, your time will start.
I disagree with my pitch not going away from the Skywalker saga because she is not going to be the main character. The main characters are going to be the students. We are going to center on the new generation, but we really need to have a beacon, a person that reminds us of everything we love about the Star Wars, and that are the Skywalkers. But that doesn't mean that my pitch is going to center about Rey. She's going to be the wisdom. She's going to be basically the Dumbledore of the saga. We can have a group of kids, we can have a group of teenagers, we can have a group of adult Padawans that are looking for them to do the trials and be the great new generation of Jedis. And in my pitch, honestly, we have very different type of content, with the kids being silly, the high school drama between teenagers, and the seriousness of Star Wars and the Force with the adults. So I think my speech is more varied than yours.
Time. All right. Whew. Man. So
the one extra minute.
That's all right. You got it in there. I'll be honest with you. I'm watching both of these. I'm definitely watching both of these, but I'm glad I don't have to judge it. All right. So I've got three gentlemen here who've been listening, and hopefully will give us some wisdom here. And we're going to start with Mr. Peck. Mr. Peck, who gets your point and why, sir?
For me, all right. Both of you put up great arguments, and the person who's really swayed me on it the most is David, because he put some great examples of why his show might be most logical than, well, not say logical, but more, how am I gonna say this? More lengthy and more interesting than Amaru's, though. Amaru, you pull up a good argument, but David really have some good counters that some of the series. Why could it be more example than yours? And I think David puts some great examples that basically doesn't have to be chronologically and basically sort of new genre for the Star Wars universe and some sort of the guiding light of the series itself. That reason is sway me. I'll give my point to David.
All right. So David gets Mr. Peck's points. All right, Mr. Diaz, who's going to get yours?
Okay. This going to go to David. Like, it was both a good argument. Amaru, you contradicted yourself a few times for some of your arguments. I wish you have told us more about your story, what fan want, and what the timeline do. I also would have want to hear more for David, same thing more about the story, but David gave an example and more idea what the show would be about. I thought what you guys did is talk about like what fan want and what fans deserve, and just focus on the show itself, but David won in the end.
All right, so David gets the official second point. Mr. Kevin, we've got to have you, being a grandson of Palpatine, we've got to have you, your point doesn't really matter where it goes, but we want to hear your opinion. Who would have gotten yours?
Absolutely. Well, Amaru had a really enthralling idea there with the National Treasure style scavenger hunt idea with the Order 66 and with the Jedi techs. I do think that's enticing, but with the mixture of with Rey being older and being a master and the guiding light Dumbledore style, mixing that genre kind of with Harry Potter style, that really drew me to that, and it kind of painted a picture better in my mind. She doesn't need her own solo story, no pun intended there. And yeah, and we do need to get away from the Skywalker saga just temporarily. But the main thing was that David's retort to Amaru about how Star Wars does not go chronologically, and this would just play right into that. It would lay out new questions that need answers, and then Amaru's could actually be played out later to answer a lot of those questions. So they both could technically work, but my point would go to David.
All right, so clean sweep for David. But you know what, guys? I've got the power here, so I'm going to greenlight both. So, get to work on it. Excellent. And I thought, honestly, it was going to go that way. I was hoping with Rise of Skywalker, it was going to go David's way, because I thought the end of the movie would be Skywalker being the new name of the Jedi Order. The Skywalkers were a nice balance between dark and light side. But, I don't get that. But now I'm going to get you guys both. Okay, so excellent here. And, David bringing up the whole Hogwarts thing is a perfect segue to our next question.
You have to put it that. You have to put it that.
I mean, with me and David here, there's no way that Hogwarts isn't mentioned at least 3 out of these 4.
Precisely. Which brings us to, with both of our gentlemen now tied 1-1 here, brings us to our next question, which leads right into David's favorite world. I think all of our favorite worlds. Yes. He's got many favorite worlds. But one he's no stranger to is the Wizarding World. And we're going to go to Hogwarts. Go right to Hogwarts, which, a little twist on it, which I'm excited to hear both of these arguments here, is which character from another franchise. All right, now we're going to go to the Wizarding World with this question. The question I put before these two gentlemen is which character from another franchise, rather than the Harry Potter universe, from another franchise, which character would be the best defense against the dark arts teacher? We've seen plenty, but what character from another franchise would work the best teaching defense against the dark arts? And since we started with David last time, we're going to start with Amaru this time. So Amaru, your time, your 90-second opener begins as soon as you do.
The best and only really successful against the dark arts teacher was compassionate, knowledgeable, stern, trusting, impactful, warm, but most importantly, had a run of mischievousness within them. If you're gonna do defense against the dark arts, you need all that, but you also need to be able to teach a lesson and then believably run off at any moment and become an Auror, or go run Nocturne Alley with Mundungus Fletcher. Doesn't matter either way. And I was trying to get really creative, but there is no other person that I can think that fits that better than Gandalf himself. Gandalf is everything that Lupin is, but even more of a troublemaker. You would follow Gandalf anywhere, or make you think it was your idea to go down a path when he really set it up himself. And on top of that, you know the Defense Against the Dark Arts is somewhat cursed, even though the curse is probably gone. If Gandalf happened to die, he come back as Gandalf the White. So he's all good. You need that ability as a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher to have kids face their fear, face the unknown, know that it's not always going to be all right, but that doesn't mean you don't always go full tilt. As he told Frodo perfectly, as he said, "I wish I wasn't here." Gandalf summed it up perfectly. So do all who live to see such times, but it's not for them to decide. All we have to do is decide what we do with the time given to us, and that's how Gandalf leads Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Time. All right. So we've got Gandalf, no stranger to magic. He's going to maybe perhaps be the new Defense Against the Dark Arts, but it all depends on who David selects from another franchise. So, Mr. David, as soon as you are ready, your time will begin.
All right, first of all, I have to say I agree with Amaru when he said all the qualities a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher has to have. So thank you, Amaru, for making my job easier and not have to say that. And I was looking and I did try to get creative. I thought about Gandalf, but another name for me stood up more because people in the wizarding world know of him. And he's also immortal, so he could perfectly be there with all his livings. And that's none other than the greatest sorcerer to ever live, Merlin, from the BBC Merlin series, which I think takes a very interesting take on the character, because I don't know if you guys have seen that series, but it's one of my favorites. And in that series, Merlin has gone through everything. He becomes compassionate. He has already led a king to his full potential, and he can do that with any single student that comes his way. So for me, Merlin will earn the respect of the class just by being who he is. He is Merlin. The Order of Merlin in Harry Potter has his name. Everyone will respect him. No one will make trouble in his class. But Merlin also has that sneaky, mischievous way when he was hiding himself and going on adventures with Arthur.
All right, time. Right at time. Excellent. Okay, so we've got two very well established wizards going to jump in, perhaps to teach this class. Gandalf versus Merlin. All right, gentlemen, you've got 5 minutes to let us know, to prove why yours is the best. You guys begin, then the time will start.
I think you and I have almost the exact same character, David. We picked really perfect people. Here's the only thing. I'm a teacher, and I know how kids can be. And as I look through Merlin and I saw what he does, that man will get run over by children. He did not fulfill his mission to save Arthur. He was either too trusting, where he should have got rid of Mordred and didn't, so Mordred came back and killed him, or too trusting, he let Kilgar go, and what happened? Camelot's burned to pieces. Or he's not trusting enough, where he should have been told Arthur that he's a sorcerer, believed in his friend, known that Arthur could have taken that news and dealt with the consequences after. No, he waited until the last second in order to tell him that he was a sorcerer. He does not know how to deal with strong personalities, as you saw with his complicated relationship with Morgana. He will get absolutely run over by kids. A name alone is not enough. And if he decided to go the exact other way, because he's Merlin, he's respected, he's all that, Mad-Eye Moody was a great teacher, but everybody was scared as shit of him and didn't want to go talk to him like that. They had to be forced to do that. I don't think Merlin would be able to connect as strongly as Gandalf can lead anybody by their own choice, or they think it's their own choice, but he brought him that way. Merlin can't do that.
Well, here's the thing. You are talking about the 20, 25 years old Merlin. He has had a lifetime. He has had a lifetime to live and to get that experience. He will be a great teacher. You also talked about Mad-Eye Moody. I don't see Merlin turning someone into a ferret to scare the student. He will be welcoming. He will be someone you can talk to. Every single person in Camelot talks to Merlin. He has that aura of this is the guy that's going to help me. And I think the kids need that. Against Gandalf, though, I have to say, I really think Gandalf's magic is really different from Harry Potter's. I really think Gandalf's magic is not suited to be a defense against the dark arts teacher, just because what we have seen of Gandalf, his magic is really not spell based, is really not words based. We have seen him matter some things, but mostly he just does instinctive magic when we see him fight, light a fire, or make a barrier, while Merlin has a book to learn. He had to go through all that learning process, and Gandalf didn't. When Gandalf was put on Middle Earth, he already was old, he already had all his powers under control, while Merlin has grown up. Merlin will have empathy to what means to be a small child afraid of your powers because he was one. So I think that empathy part is the real key and the real difference maker between Gandalf and Merlin.
So you talked about a lifetime. Gandalf has had that same type of lifetime. Immortality is immortality. Here's the thing. Gandalf had that same lifetime with the mischievousness and the warmth inherent in him within the start. Gandalf the Grey, especially, Merlin had to learn that. He had to learn to get to that point. So he probably still has to learn even more of that. You talk about Gandalf can't do that magic. He had enough magic to go against the necromancer and survive, to go against the Balrog and basically survive or sacrifice himself for somebody else. He is defense driven, and one of the key things you need to know in defense against the dark arts is the defense. You need to be able to defend yourself against stuff, and him having that solid base will greatly benefit any child that comes his way. And you talk about empathy. You talk about empathy when Gandalf is the only one that told some stubborn ass dwarves and Elrond and all those men and everybody that it's the hobbits and the humbleness and the earthiness of hobbits that everybody looks over that is going to not only get an Arkenstone, but the One Ring for you. He knew that. That means he had that empathy for everybody who was in a quote unquote lower place than him. He has everything that your guy has, but it's inherent within him.
You know, you said inherent, and that is the point that I don't really see, because Merlin had to learn, and having to learn, he knows how to teach. We have seen him teach, while Gandalf has lead people, but we haven't seen him teach anyone. So I think, in my perspective, Merlin is the perfect teacher, because yes, Gandalf will probably just do what he thinks people have to do, while Merlin will let people just live.
Whew. That was the interesting 5 minutes there. Now you guys have your 60 seconds to close this out. Plead this final case for why which one's character is the better choice to teach this class. And we started with Amaru, so we're gonna start your final 60 with David. As soon as you're ready, sir, your 60 seconds will begin.
I'm going to go ahead and use my extra minute, please.
All right. So now you've got your 2 minutes here. Okay. And whenever you're ready, sir.
All right, so Amaru, you mentioned that Gandalf has made a lot of great defense things. I agree, but what I said without having a very different magic or not being able to do that, I was not putting in question Gandalf's power. I was not putting in question Gandalf's abilities. I was putting in question Gandalf's type of magic. Because even if we have seen Gandalf do a lot of magic, and it is very, very, very different than Harry Potter's magic. Gandalf is raw magic. He does what the moment needs. He lights up, he breaks a rock, he uses a barrier. But we will never see Gandalf do something like an Expelliarmus or an Avada Kedavra or a Wingardium Leviosa. That's not the type of magic he knows, so that's not the type of magic he will be able to teach. He can teach morality, he can teach bravery, he can teach courage. But in Defense Against the Dark Arts, especially in the Wizarding world, you have to be able to teach the students how to make Protego, how to make Expelliarmus, how to make all of that. While Merlin is living the Wizarding world. He's known in the Wizarding world, so with immortality, he will have been able to learn every single Wizarding world spell there is and teach that to the students. And he also lived through a lot of life-threatening situations, and he survived. He also survived. He has led people. He has teach people. So, in my opinion, that's the edge that Merlin has over Gandalf. The type of magic, he knows what the Hogwarts students need, and he will be caring, he will not be scary, and he will have that respect by name and the life experience to not being run over by kids. And I am going to concede my 5 seconds.
Your 5 seconds. All right. Okay, Amaru, you gonna stick with your 60?
Yep, just a 60.
Yep, just a 60. Okay. All right, then your 60 begins when you do, sir.
If there's anything I learned in my 9 years of actual teaching, the biggest key is steal everything. Anything you don't know, you take from other people. What I've learned about Defense Against the Dark Arts, it's not about the wand waving. It's not about the spell casting. It's about the ability to feel. It's about the ability to defend yourself and others. It's about the ability to go with fear, because you're going to be scared, but have that courage and have that feeling and have everything else inside you that will then guide the spells outwards towards you. And that's what Gandalf does. He teaches life lessons. He taught Frodo how not to be afraid. He guided Pippin after his mistake. Gandalf is the ultimate relationship builder that will let you believe you can do absolutely anything, no matter what is put in front of you. And that is the key to Defense Against the Dark Arts. It's what you think. It's what you believe. It's how you feel. It's what you know that you can do, whether or not you believe it or not. It is not nearly enough to just be like, I can wave this wand. You got to feel it, and Gandalf makes you.
Time. All right. Whew. Now, this is one, I'll be real honest, I'm super glad I don't have to judge. Because both of these are excellent choices, and you both made excellent arguments. But we're going to see from those who will judge who gets whose point. So we're going to start with Mr. Diaz. Diaz, who's getting your point and why, sir?
Oh, God. Like my favorite saying go, you like pick your favorite child and then choose the other one. But it's both good arguments, both great characters. It's tough. I kind of had to give my point to David in the end. It was a close battle. I just think David, especially with his 2-minute close argument, pulled out at the end. Marvin had brought up the fact that Merlin intrigued, like the many years he had intrigued for from the actual story, also, and then a few other things. I think, and David, I'd love to hear you kind of point out that Gandalf also insult people when he gets pissed off. That should turn off some students. But yeah, I think David, in the end, won the argument. He used more example, and the fact immortality, the fact that he'd been living long enough to have experience running out at the end of Gandalf. Oh, this was tough.
Yes, it was. All right. But ultimately, David gets your point. Okay, Mr. Kevin.
Yes, this was incredibly hard. I actually flipped probably 3 times during the argument. David, you limited this to a certain Merlin, and that kind of hurt your argument with me because I'm not familiar with the BBC version. You did help paint the picture, and your 2-minute closing was amazing. I mean, laying out those specific types of magic in Harry Potter versus what you made sound like more of a primitive sort of magic through Gandalf. But Amaru just had too much when it came to Gandalf's mischievousness and his comparisons to Lupin. The quotes that he brought up, the he did fire back against with Morgana and Mordred, and the magic that Gandalf does possess against the Necromancer, the Balrog. He is defense driven. He's empathetic with the hobbits, and then in his closing he talked about it's about what's inside you. He is a relationship builder, kind of like it reminded me of Harry Potter and Dumbledore's army. So my point is going to go to Amaru just by a slight hair. Very good arguments, guys.
All right, so Mr. Peck, you're going to be our tiebreaker this time. Who gets your point and why?
All right. But first off, I'm shocked that none of you picked the brothers duo of Ian and Barry Lightfoot from Honor as defensive dark arts teacher. I'm extremely upset with that, but it's okay. So, all right. With that, I'll say it like this. Very good arguments, and I'm a little back and forth for which argument swayed me the most, but I think, well, the person for me, I think he put some better examples and good counters on the other is Amaru, because he put some examples, some knocks on David's Merlin, because some examples like he's too trustworthy, if you believe in so much so lately, and he was very younger, though. Even though he learned everything right here, it's hard to get some students, some seriously, some younger than them, as Sir Defensive Dark Arts teacher, and he put some great examples of Gandalf that he's self-sacrificed. He does care about his friends right here. Yes, he might generally yell at them, but at the same time, he does generally care for them right here. Even some dark instances, I think he put some great examples that why he would be a great defensive against Dark Arts. So my point will go to Amaru.
All right, so with that, Amaru wins this round, which gives him 2 points, and then David the 1 point, so which means we're going to go to this 4th round.
Before we move on,
before we move
Diaz,
on.
I need to make this very, very good point. As a teacher, you need to be able to build that relationship that you can insult a kid, and then the kid will just laugh at you. That is the most satisfying thing as a teacher, to be able to do, and the kid are like, okay, cool, you're good. So just I couldn't let that go. I'll laugh out behind off. I couldn't let that go.
Amaru.
True.
I would walk away after insulting them like Anna sometimes does in there.
Yes, but you build very good relationships, depending on how well they can take it. Because being a former teacher myself and still a teacher in a way, I've ribbed quite a few students. Yeah.
In this question.
All right.
This was the point. I think you got this one.
Oh,
we will see.
Or we will see. We will see. And now with this question, you guys are going to have to really use your time wisely, because I didn't make this one easy. Because you're going to have to pitch us again. But this time we're going to go to the realm of Middle Earth, where Gandalf knows a little bit about. And we're going to go to Middle Earth, and we're going to assemble a fellowship. We're going to assemble a fellowship to deliver the ring, but without using any of the original members of the fellowship. So I'm very excited to hear what you guys are going to deliver this time. And we're going to start with David on this one. You're going to give us that new fellowship to deliver that ring to Mordor, and your time will begin as soon as you do.
All right. So when I think fellowship, I think diversity. I think people that can resist the power of the ring, because that's very, very, very needed. I think people that are hard-willed, that they have a very strong will. And my picks for this one are Elrond from Rivendell, Eomer from Rohan, Galadriel from Lothlorien, Thorin Oakenshield, Faramir from Gondor, and Bilbo Baggins, our favorite hobbit. Why? I have 3 people that we have seen resist the power of the ring. Even if they were tempted at first, they resisted, and those were Bilbo Baggins, sorry, Bolson is in Spanish, Bilbo Baggins, Galadriel, and Faramir. So any of those could be the ring better. But for me, it would be Bilbo, because we have seen with Frodo, anyone will probably fall at the end, but he has one very, very dear friend with him to push him to drop the ring, and that is Thorin Oakenshield. That's the reason why I put him in there. Bilbo the ring bearer needs a very strong friend, and the relationship Thorin and Bilbo built during the Hobbit, it's going to be the key to make Bilbo destroy the ring, like when he dropped the ring in the floor of Bag End.
All right. Going to that time. Whew. All right. A very interesting group. Very interesting reasons why choosing them. So, Amaru, we're going to hear your group and your reasons when you begin.
I'm using my extension now.
And you're going to use your extension. All right. So you got your 1 minute extension. As soon as you're ready, sir.
When it comes to a fellowship, yes, you need diversity, but the diversity you need is the diversity of personalities, of people who can take certain aspects of the fellowship on. And here is who my crew and how they're going to do that. The only creatures in Middle-earth known to resist the ring for long enough time are hobbits. So my 2 hobbits are Fatty Bulger and Falco Boffin. Both are from the books. Both of them helped Bilbo and the crew escape. But Fatty and Falco both stayed behind beforehand. But during the final battle, both went with the army of hobbits to go fight at the doors of Mordor. Fatty is like your Sam. He's the one that was too scared to go away, but in the end was regretful to not go with them on the mission. He's like the Sam. The Sam, he's the one that is there for his friends, but not necessarily can take the ring. Falco is the one who wanted to go headstrong, but couldn't. And once the war started, he was gone. He was ready to go. He's your ring bearer. Next, you have Beorn and Radagast, 2 animal lovers, 2 people who can use their skills in order to not only use nature, but Radagast as the wizard and Beorn as the ultimate fighter to go ahead and make sure everybody's protected. But you got Beorn, who's really headstrong, and Radagast, who's really naive. They are friends. They've always been friends with their connection with nature. The 2 of them together are going to balance each other out when one goes too far one way or the other. But still, they're very strong personalities, so you need Arwen, movie Arwen. The badass will take on the 9 Arwen, who is the light of the world, who will be the connecting piece between those 2 when they go too far. She's the one to put them under their light. Next, you got Bard the Bowman. He's the leader. He's the Aragorn. He's the level-headed. He is the key. He is the archer of all archers. He's the negotiator. You saw it with Thranduil and Thorin. He's the reasoning between the different types of people, can bring them together and make hard decisions. And last but not least, the most important piece, this is why David has him, is Faramir. The only way to get to Mordor is through Gondor. And the only way to get past Gondor is by Denethor and Boromir. And with both of them together, that is not happening. That is not happening unless Faramir dies. And Faramir has to die, unfortunately, because you'll see with Boromir's relationship with him, that's the only way Boromir will let the ring go.
And time. All right. Whew. Using up every second of that extension. Excellent. All right. 2 interesting groups. 2 very eclectic, interesting groups. We're going to see how you guys battle this out. And your 5 minutes begin when the first person starts talking.
Well, Amaru, you said that the only way to go to Mordor is through Gondor. I'm not really sure if that's the case, because Gandalf refused to go through Gondor. He didn't want to get near Gondor. They could go another way. Speaking of Gandalf, he was the one who was leading the Fellowship to Mordor and who knew what type of pathways they had to take. So my question for you is, who is going to be the guide of the Fellowship? Because I have mine very, very clear, and that's Elrond. Elrond is the one that put the first fellowship together in the first place. So I think Elrond is going to be the connecting piece of every single personality. We have Galadriel, who has the magic. Then we have Bilbo the Ring Bearer, and we have Eomer, Faramir, and Thorin, who are very, very, very strong warriors and can make amends with Gondor, Rohan, and the dwarves if they decide to go through Moria. So in my opinion, your group is great, but mine has more diversity and in races and personalities. But and we have a key of the leader, the magic, because your magic is Radagast. He could probably know the way to Mordor, but honestly, he's a great guy, but I wouldn't trust his memory. I wouldn't really trust him to lead me to Mordor.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm not going to keep on this too long. He refused to take the path of Rohan. He did not the path of Gondor. You can see Mordor from Minas Tirith's front steps. You are on that where the white tree is, and Mordor is right there. Now, in terms of a leader, your leader is not Radagast. Radagast is not the leader. It's Bard and it's Arwen. Arwen has so much power in everything to bring everybody together, but it's Bard who's the one who's going to take the steps and bring and make all the tough decisions. That's the one who's really leading them. The thing about your group, you have too many strong-headed people. You got Thorin, and you got Aramir, and you got Elrond. They're all going to bash on what they should be doing and who should be doing what. Secondly, you say you have people who can resist the ring. I'm sorry, Thorin got the dragon fever. Galadriel got tempted and then left. She couldn't stay around that ring. Bilbo was too old. He attacked his own nephew. And then on his way to Valar, he said, "You see my old ring again? He's too old. He will get tempted now. A younger Frodo, maybe, but that Frodo is his age at that time." Lastly, the spies of Mordor are looking for the ring consistently. There is no way you're going to have Elrond and Galadriel, two of the most powerful beings on Middle-earth, walking around and wandering around Middle-earth together without somebody noticing. They needed stealth. They needed to make sure that Sauron knew nothing about their mission, and the only way to do that is to have people you don't expect. And the two hobbits are the ones who are going to carry the ring. You don't got anybody who really legitimately is going to carry that ring. So you're too strong-headed, you're too level-headed, you got too many risks. I got a lot of balance for my fellowship's flaws. I got people who are there for each other to balance each other out.
I actually don't agree with me having two strong-headed people. We have not seen Elrond being strong-headed except with Arwen, and that was a family matter. Thorin is the one that's going to be the leader alongside Elrond. Elrond is going to be the guide. Thorin is going to be the one that makes the decisions because, yeah, he got dragon sickness, but the key about my fellowship, every single one of them was tempted, but they resisted in the end. Also, I don't think the deal here was to have them at the age they were at the end of Lord of the Rings. So I don't think the old Bilbo will be the one going, and my people here, I don't think really you have a good argument with age. Bilbo will be in the age where he resisted the ring, and he will have people around him, like Gandalf did, to make him make the right choice. Also, I'm going to respond to that. Boromir suggested to go to Gondor, and Gandalf refused. So there is a pathway to go to Middle Earth, to Mordor, without going through Gondor, and you can go through Rohan when you have Eomer. You can go through there. You are mentioning the Ringwraiths detecting Galadriel and Elrond, but we don't really know if they can detect magic. They can detect the ring, and the powers of Elrond and Galadriel could mask the presence of the ring.
And time. Whew. All right. Wow. Interesting battle. You guys threw some nice punches in there. Whew. So we're going to see how you guys wrap this up. Plead your final case with your 60 seconds. And you've both already used your 1 minute extension. So we're going to keep it to the 60. This will be interesting. All right. We're going to start with David with your 60 as soon as you I'm sorry, Amaru. That's right. Sorry, Amaru. We're gonna start with your 60 as soon as you begin.
You forgot about Aramir. He is very strong-headed, and him and Thorin will clash. Yes, Thorin may have been able to get over the Dragon Stick, and Galadriel may be able to get over it really quickly, but the long amount of time there, that is more and more risk you have. And them being able to mask the power of the ring is them emoting more power to get the power off of them. The spies of Mordor will see. And no matter what, even if you don't go through Gondor, Gondor is right there. The people they have out in Osgiliath and all the other places, you're not getting the Mordor without somebody from Gondor being there. And most importantly, you gotta convince Boromir and Denethor to let that ring go. And the only way that's happening is if Boromir is able to see Faramir has died and know that reasoning and use his love of Faramir to find a way to let that go, because that risk is there. My fellowship doesn't have that risk. It has everybody you need without any risk of, oh, somebody's got to master strength, somebody's got to be level-headed, somebody's got to make sure they lead. We got Fatty and Folco who got the ring. We got Beorn and Radagast and Arwen together with nature, with magic, with strength and power.
Time.
Oh, I thought I had more time. Dang it. Okay. That's fine.
Sorry. I know you were flowing. It was like, okay. All right. Woo. Man. Yeah, I didn't make this easy on you guys. All right. David, as soon as you're ready, your time will start.
Well, first of all, I have to say, Amaru didn't answer my question when I asked who is going to lead them to Mordor, guide them to Mordor. Not who's going to be the leader of the Fellowship on the decision-making, but who knows the path. Who knows the path to Mordor? He didn't answer that question. That is something I want to point out. Now, he talked about not being able to go through Mordor. Yes, they can. They were going to. And Boromir, they were going to the original Fellowship, but they had to go to Gondor, to distract Sauron from the Ring Bearer. So they would be able to go through Gondor without going to Boromir or the other guy who the name forgot right now, with Faramir. So Faramir would be able to lead them through the outskirts of Gondor if they even have to go that way to get to Mordor. So that's really where I think your argument is weak, because Gondor is not a key.
And time. All right. Whew. I don't envy the judges on this one. We're gonna go right back to the first judge we started with Kevin. Kevin, you've heard both these arguments. Which group are you gonna choose by giving your point to who you're gonna give it to?
Give me just 1 second. Trying to put my thoughts together here.
It was a lot of information.
Yes, it was. Yep. All right.
You guys missing the one key answer that get all the eagle, fly the ring. Boom.
There you go. Just break it all down.
I got the Eagles out of there quick. If they weren't going.
Yep, that's it.
Thank God nobody brought up Eagles. All right. So my point, I'll try to keep it pretty quick, is going to go to Amaru. I like how you brought in characters from different aspects. Like you brought in a couple of book characters. You brought in some kind of low-key characters like Beorn, Radagast. You brought in Arwen to be a balance for those characters. You thought this through, and you could see that in your opening. A great use of the minute extension on the opening. You really did fight back. David, you did what you could with that, asking him who was going to be the leader, but I think Amaru did just enough by saying that Bard was going to be that strong leader for his team, and Faramir could also be a guide when needed. You kind of even said that yourself. So by the thinnest of margins, I'm going to give this one to Amaru.
All right, so our first point goes to Amaru. All right, Mr. Peck, Mr. Raptor Master, what say you?
I kind of sound like a broken record. Very good argument for both David and Amaru, and they really put some examples of why you brought your character to not only join the fellowship but join the quest itself, though. And I think this is a really hard one because they're legit even. They're basically even for me. There's a little back and forth based on the characteristics, and for me, I think the person that for me, I think slice and margins might get a point to is to David because he puts some examples, well, slightly close because he put some examples that, well, according to Amaru's, why some of the members of Amaru's group that might not work. It depends on whether guys left with memories, and also even he didn't brought this up, but didn't Amaru. I was kind of looking for more information about the Fatty Bulger and the Flacco Boffin, a little bit more, so I get sort of the clear picture why it's more in the journey though. And David put some great examples that when he put Elron and Thorin, he puts a clear leader on his group, the White leading on to the quest, and bring out some great examples so far me Homer. So I will give my point to David.
All right, which means, Mr. Diaz, you have to break this tie.
Sorry,
And decide this whole thing for a second, possibly. All right, no pressure. But who's going to get your point and why?
I had to go with already written down, but a tough argument. Both great choices. David, you had as strong as you can, despite a little restart, but I had to give my point to Marvin paying me. It just like Marvin to hit him back and forth on all the countermeasure of how David team would have worked. I'd love to hear a little bit, maybe more about family and that the fact that he would try to bring the ring back to his father to get his approval. We're waiting for that to come up at one point, especially that we watched the movie recently. But I think the Hobbit argument right there is the essential thing. You needed people to burden the ring. And David, as much as I love you, you don't have any Hobbit in your group or anybody that would held the burden. I'm waiting to hear some of that because you need to have the two people to finally put the ring into the Mount Doom, and you didn't mention anything. But my point down to Marvel, it pained me, but it was a great argument all around.
Yes,
he did have Bilbo. He did have Bilbo, just to say that.
Yeah,
He did have Bilbo, yeah.
But you don't have Samwise, so somebody go with him.
All right, which I love the good sportsmanship all around, but this means, and your winner is Amaru Moses. Yes, good arguments all around, good answers to all these questions. Both of you, insane competitors, amazing job. But the final decision goes to Amaru. Amaru, you won. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. This, out of all the sports brawls and movie battlegrounds and nerd, this has been the most fun I've had doing a debate. This was absolutely fun. There were plenty of times where David came back. I usually do a pretty good job anticipating whatever counters might come my way, and there were at least 4 times I was like, oh crap, I need to figure out how to counter that counter because I did not think about that at all. So I had a lot of fun in this one. And I would gladly debate David at any point in any time. This might have been one of the ones that if I would have lost, I'd have been like, you know what? That's okay. Because this was mad fun. So.
All right, yeah, definitely. You guys, you're both killers as far as not only your argument, but just after hearing it for a couple seconds, the other person's argument too. And there were both times in both your faces I saw that oh crap moment as you described it, Amaru. So very nice. David, unfortunately you didn't pull this one off, but you did a heck of a job, man. How you feeling?
I am feeling good. I mean, I love Amaru. We have known each other for very little, but we have apparently going to fight a few times more. uh, I mean, debating with Amaru about uh, Wizarding World, I realized my mistake of picking Middle Earth as one of my strengths after the fact because I knew Amaru was going to bring it. So I knew, and I said it in the match, the Wizarding World point was the key to this match, in my opinion. That was the key, and I lost it. So as soon as I lost it, I knew I had to do everything I could in Middle Earth. But again, I was expecting Amaru to win the point on Middle Earth. I was expecting the Star Wars point. I was not expecting the Wizarding World point, but I wanted to get it. I really wanted to get it. I tried to find holes in Gandalf, but he made really, really great points on that one. So I am not mad. I don't know if I will come back to debate because this is a very, 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 very stressful, more stressful than any trivia match I have ever played. But I have a hell of a time with Amaru. I cannot wait to be on screen with him again.
Excellent, yeah, and we hope that we see you guys again battle it out because David, it might be stressful, but you're very, very good at this. You're extraordinarily good at this, sir. You both are, and this was a lot of fun for me. I love the fact that I didn't have to have the added stress of judging, but it was a lot of fun to host. So let's just hear just a real quick, gentlemen. Kevin, how'd you feel about this match overall?
Oh, this was fantastic. Both David, Amaru, you guys did exactly what I thought you were gonna do. I know you both know your stuff. It's like David said though. These matches are super stressful. I know that coming in. So as a judge, I try to take a step back. But listening to your arguments, you can hear the wheels turning, the gears just grinding. And you guys put up one hell of a match today. So great job.
All right, and Mr. Raptor Master, Mr. Peck, what say you, sir? How you feel about this whole thing?
Feel actually very good though. This is a great match, and both of you really bring it right here. And don't let the score mislead how good David in this match right here. I just want to say you did an excellent job on this fight, and I just want to say congratulations to Amaru. He's really a beast, really a beast. Not only this, but any other league itself though. So I just want to say congratulations to Amaru right here, and good luck. You're gonna need it.
All right, and Mr. Diaz, Mr. Diaz, what say you?
This was a fun match. This was tough, but David, you did fantastic job. Marvel, same thing. Like anybody would be really fake again to have a fun match. This is probably one of my favorite matches out there. It reminded me why I love movies in the first place and the talking about it and everything. Talk about it. It's just a fun. Great job to both of you. Can't wait to see where you guys go next with the next.
All right, excellent. Yes, and Amaru, you're moving on. You're moving. David again, guarantee. As long as he feels he can do it. I think he can. I know he can. We're gonna see him around. So I'm gonna thank the judges, Kevin, Jonathan, Chris. Thank you guys so much for being here. And we're going to look forward to the next match. And we're going to see Amaru fighting, scratching, clawing, and all of us everywhere. Make sure you're watching those movies. Make sure you're reading those books, those comics, anything in the nerd realm, because take notes, because you might have to fight it out. All right. Hui ho, guys. Take care.